Hey everybody, welcome back to My Wings of Refuge. I'm excited today because we're going to get our canning on and make some fabulous marinara sauce. This sauce I love to use on my homemade pizzas. I use it in spaghetti or pasta of any sort. It is fabulous dipping a grilled cheese sandwich into it. You can use it for so many things. This is a fabulous recipe. Let's get started. Okay, so I've got my kitchen all set up and ready. My canner here, which I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And my jars are washed and in here, and it's full of water. Now for this recipe, you're going to need about 8 pint jars, and you will fill probably all of them. But if you like a thinner sauce, then I would switch to quarts. I like mine thick, so I'm using pints. So you want a big pan that'll hold at least 10 pounds of tomatoes plus some onions and spices. And you'll want a small pan here full of water with your lids, and we're going to turn them on low for now and just get them warm. We don't want to boil them, we just want them warm when we're ready. And then I've got all my utensils and the rings. So, and I've got my towel up here ready to put our hot jars, and we're ready now to get our tomatoes going. This is what I'm going to be using today to process my tomatoes. So don't panic if you don't have one. You can simply cut your tomatoes in half, bake them in the oven until the skins char just a little bit, bring them out, let them cool completely, and then pull the skins off. I have here my first 5 pounds of tomatoes that I have washed and just cut into chunks. And so as they go through the food meal, it'll spit out the core and the skins. If you use the tomato screen, it'll also take out the seeds, but I don't mind the seeds. So in processing your tomatoes, with this right here is where your undesirables come out. That would be your seeds, depending on what string you're using, your skins and the core. And then everything that comes out of this tube, you can put in your dehydrator and dehydrate it into a tomato powder. This is our 10 pounds of tomatoes. Next, I have chunked up 4 large onions, and I'm putting them in the food processor to puree them. Four large pureed onions. Ten cloves of garlic. Fresh, homegrown, beautiful garlic. 3 tablespoons of oregano, 3 tablespoons basil, 3 tablespoons of basil, 2 tablespoons of salt, and then 1 cup of balsamic vinegar. Yum! Okay, so we want to give this a really good stir. I've turned the heat on low so far. You want to mix it really well. Now if you don't have onions, you can use onion powder. If you want to add a couple of tablespoons of thyme, that would be fabulous as well. If you wanted to use garlic powder, you could do that, or the minced garlic that you buy at the store. You don't have to have homegrown. So now, So there is an optional ingredient here. You want this to be a little bit bolder and a little bit richer, and you want it to thicken a little bit faster, and which will also lend to a little bit more volume for your jars. You can add 1 or 2 of the little 6-ounce tomato pastes to your sauce. Totally up to you, totally optional. I'm going to crank up the heat on my jars to make sure they are boiled and ready and piping hot when we need them. I'm going to turn the heat up to high on my sauce. I want to cook as much water out of it as possible. Keep an eye on it, stir it often. Again, it's going to be your consistency, what you want it to be. Right now this is way too thin for me. I want it to be thicker. But I do like mine chunky. Don't forget, I like mine a little chunky. See the chunks? I like that. And then on your water here, I'm going to turn mine up just about. Low is like a number 1. I've got it on about 2 to 3. Actually, it's on 2.5. So I'm going to let everything just warm up while this comes to a boil and cooks out some of the water. I'm not going to reduce this one quite by half, but I am going to let it reduce until it's your desired consistency. I tell you, the smell in here is amazing, and I won't be able to smell this all day and not partake of it this evening. So I already know exactly what I'm having for dinner. So I'm just going to let this boil, stirring often. Don't want it to stick to the bottom, and you want to just keep it stirred well. And when we reach our consistency, we'll start our jars. Now we're just going to get our jars out. And I'm going to place the lid back on our canner so that our water stays hot. I'm going to turn the heat off here.
Just make sure you clean those rims really good. You can either use vinegar or you can use water. Just make sure there's nothing left on them or they may not seal for you. Add those warm, flat lids that don't have to boil but just warm, and then screw on those rings finger tight.
So since our water is already boiling, I'm going to set our timer for 35 minutes. So our timer is going off, and I'm just going to turn the eye off here, and I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. I just want this to calm down a little bit. We don't want to move something very hot to very cold very quickly, because that can cause problems with your seal. So we're just going to let this calm down, then we'll raise it up, and then we'll set them out on our towel. Just going to give them another minute. Y'all, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've had a great week, but you know, I hope you have even better week next week. And just remember, keep your eye on the eastern sky, because things are happening and shaking up. And just remember, One of my favorite verses is, don't conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't conform to the patterns of this world. If you stare at a pattern for very long, those details start to disappear. And so the more you stare at it and the more you look at it, the more you don't see those details anymore. And so many times in this world, things around us, those little details start to disappear. We start to see what is of this world. There's a lot of things that this world wants you to think is normal and good, but you've got to do your research. I am praying for discernment for you. So stay out there, stay in the Word, stay faithful to Him because He is faithful to us. Have a great week, y'all. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. I am praying for you.